to Marine Paul Warren from 40 Commando Royal Marines, who died on Monday, and the member of 40 Commando Royal Marines who died yesterday. We should constantly remember and show our support for the service and the sacrifices made on our behalf by our armed forces and their families. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had a meeting with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Lisa Nandy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Coalfield Communities Regeneration Programme breathed new life into places like Wigan after the devastation caused by the pit closures in the 80s. Michael Clapham's review is very welcome, but the decision to freeze its funding will devastate our economy all over again. Can he reassure my constituents that he isn't simply seeking to close down the coalfields all over again?
Yeah. Well, of course I can give the Honourable Lady that assurance. So let me first of all congratulate her on her election to this House and say how much we want to make sure that in spite of the difficult decisions we've had to make in the budget, that we go on helping and regenerating communities that face difficulties. I know in Wigan in particular, I visited myself the site where the new Lads and Girls Club is going to be built, and I think that's an excellent joint work between private and public sector, and we need many more projects like that, and we'll have more to say about that next week.
And Hart.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister will be aware of the vital contribution of the 23,000 Territorial Army and other reservists who have fought in Afghanistan, Iraq and the Balkans in the last 6 years. 22 have so far lost their lives in these operations, and those who survive are twice as likely to get post-traumatic stress disorder than their regular counterparts. What recognition and support can the Prime Minister give to the thousands of employers who routinely allow staff to volunteer, train and engage in reservist activity, and by doing so are now critical to our military success in these operations?
Well, I think my honourable friend is absolutely right to raise the contribution that our territorial army plays in serving our country, and actually is right to remind us of the figures which he quoted about how many people have served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there are some 600 volunteer reservists serving today. The point I would make to my honourable friend is standing up for our armed forces is not just a government responsibility, it's a social responsibility. It's something we should all do, and we should pay tribute to those businesses that help people to volunteer and take part, and we should remember their service in doing that as well.
Harriet Harmans.
Mr. Speaker, may I join the Prime Minister in paying tribute to Marine Paul Warren from 40 Commando Royal Marines who died on Monday, and the member of 40 Commando Royal Marines who died yesterday. They fought with bravery and they died in the service of their country. Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor announced yesterday the Government will bring forward relinking the basic state pension to earnings to 2011 rather than 2012. Can the Prime Minister tell us how much money the Treasury has set aside to pay for this next year?
Actually, what the Chancellor did yesterday was more complex than that. He said, and it's a very important point, it's an extremely important point, and honourable members will want to listen to this, because we've got a triple lock in place to make sure that the upgrade of the pension is at the highest level possible. So next year, because of what we expect with RPI, the pension will be upgraded with RPI. So it will be an increase. And perhaps she could confirm, when she gets to the dispatch box the next time, that Labour's plans were to uprate benefits by less than CPI.
Harriet Harmans.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there was nothing complicated at all about the question, but it was one that he didn't seem to want to answer. The answer is they haven't set aside one single penny for this big promise to pensioners. Next year, prices are due to go up more than earnings, so bringing forward the earnings links by a year doesn't give pensioners anything extra. But though pensioners get nothing from that change, we all know they will pay more in VAT. The Chancellor promised to provide help for pensioners. Can he tell the House, and I'm sure the pensioners will want to know, and I'm sure Southwark Pensioners Action Group, SPAG, who the honourable member knows very well, SPAG will want to know, are pensioners better off or worse off as a result of this budget?
Well, I have to say to the honourable lady, there is a danger in asking your second question without having listened to the first answer. The first answer, yes, the first answer is that the pension will be uprated by RPI, which is likely to be higher than earnings next year. In terms of how much money we are putting into the state pension system over this, how much, he asks? £1 billion over the Parliament. Yeah, £1 billion. And what a contrast! What a contrast! In 13 years, they never linked the pension back to earnings. We've done it in 2 months.
Harriet Harman.
No, Mr. Speaker, he is not being straight about this. He's not being straight about this, no. We know there won't be any increase in your pension by linking it with earnings a year early. You won't benefit if you're a pensioner from the cut in tax from raising the personal allowance either, because you don't get that if you're over 65. But you will pay more VAT. The Chancellor promised to help pensioners. Won't he admit that pensioners will be worse off under his budget?
Perhaps I could recommend to the Honourable Lady the Budget Red Book, although in her case I suspect it is the unread book. If she looks at page 41, she will see £1 billion going into the state pension system this Parliament. And what a contrast. We all remember the 75p increase for pensioners. Under our triple lock system, that can never happen again.
Harriet Harman.
Page.
A Conservative MP has just shouted out 3-0. A comment on these exchanges rather than a prediction for this afternoon.
Page 41, table 2.1, item 48, basic state pension, introduce triple guarantee, money set aside, 0. Mr. Speaker, he's not been straight about his promise to pensioners. Can I ask him about families with children? Families with children with an income less than £40,000 might be breathing a sigh of relief that they still have their tax credits, and that's what was on the news last night. But is that right? Can he confirm, as he promised in the election, that families on less than £40,000 won't lose their tax credit?
But what we are doing is making sure... What we are doing is making sure that the less well-off families get the most money. What a contrast again. Since 2004, child poverty went up 100,000 under a Labour government. In this budget, child poverty does not go up by one single family.
Harriet Harman.
Once again, he's not answering the question. He's not answering the question. The truth is that despite the Chancellor's promise, the budget's small print shows big cuts in the eligibility for tax credit. The Prime Minister promised no family on less than £40,000 a year would lose child tax credit. Will he admit that is not the case? And will he admit there are families on a joint income of £30,000 who will lose all their tax credits?
The point the Honourable Lady has got to... What the Honourable Lady has got to address is who left us in this mess. Who left a budget deficit of £155 billion with absolutely no proposals to deal with it? Who put forward...
Order! I apologise for interrupting the Prime Minister. This level of barracking is unacceptable, and I can tell the House it is detested by the electorate. It must stop. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Who put forward £50 billion of cuts without outlining a single penny piece? I have to say, the whole country can see what is happening here. One party put us into this mess. Two parties are working together to get us out of it.
Harriet Harman.
I think, Mr. Speaker, what the electorate detest is broken promises. And people will want to know...
Conservative MPs are now pointing at the Labour benches.
How his budget will affect them. He wasn't straight with pensioners. He wasn't straight with families. He wasn't straight on VAT. When the Chancellor got up to present his budget, he proclaimed, "I'm not going to hide hard choices in the small print of the budget documents. You're going to